So I have a super quickie. Presidential candidate Robert F. Kennedy Jr., an independent for the 2024 presidential candidate, says the U.S. needs to legalize pot to end addiction. And he came out with a campaign ad to show it. And I think better than reading the story, I think we're just going to show you this video. But I'm going to read just a little bit into it. In a campaign ad that pulls clips from a September C-SPAN interview, Kennedy describes his plan to federally legalize marijuana and earmark tax revenue for substance misuse treatment and rehabilitation. The candidate, who launched his campaign as a Democrat before switching to independent last month, said he wants to build that infrastructure as part of my presidency, adding that the renewal centers of detoxification will help address the rise of mental illness and PTSD and drug addiction that is debilitating our children. And I think we have it queued up. Are you ready, Adam? All right, here we go.
Is that we should legalize marijuana. We should have a federal tax on the marijuana that is designated specifically for drug treatment and rehabilitation. And I want to build, as part of my presidency, a series of renewal centers, of detoxification, essentially, centers around this country to treat the rise in mental illness and PTSD and drug addiction that is debilitating our children. We lost 106,000 kids last year to overdoses. In the opioid overdoses, that is double the number of kids that we lost during the 20-year Vietnam War. We need to start healing our country in many ways. I think the best solution is to legalize it, make it possible for the cannabis distributors to actually bank their profits and their revenues and not force them to keep them in mattresses, which encourages more crime, and then tax it robustly so that we can pay for these, for the addiction treatment for our children. If you like this video and you want to learn more about me and the movement that we're building, please go to Kennedy24.com.
What do you guys think about this?
I think the best thing about Robert Kennedy is his wife, Cheryl Hines, who is a comedic genius. Her material is funnier than his platform for running for president. I think he is super sus in all directions, and except for the last name, he wouldn't even have his 15 minutes of fame.
I'm going to have to wholeheartedly disagree. If you listen to everything the man says, it makes sense. Everything he just said in that ad made sense. Legalize cannabis, begin treatment centers for people with PTSD, use the taxes for cannabis to make our country better. He wants to close the military bases overseas. He wants to get corporations out of politics. There's two things going. There's two streams on Robert Kennedy. There's what the mainstream news, both liberal and conservative, is saying about him, and then there's what the man is saying out of his own mouth. And I'd say, I think a lot of his scientific views are a little fucking wacko, but the guy is an actual human being. And currently, he's at 22% to Biden's, I think, 39%, and Trump's 36%. And so he's actually polling huge. And if anybody here is interested in getting away from the political machines of the left and the right, the constant bickering, and looking for a new path, I would say consider Robert F. Kennedy. And Yarrow, I would say this to you too. Let's talk about the things that the man is actually saying instead of our ideas about him or things that are being said in the mainstream news. Who here agrees with shutting down the majority of military bases overseas and using that money to improve our own country?
There's a lot of great things. I know we're at overtime right now. I gotta hop too, but there's a lot of good things that he says, and I really like his humility to actually, when he's proven wrong, he apologizes and retracts what he says. That's something you don't really see out of a lot of politicians. So
the only part that I didn't like about it is he said a robust tax rate, and that just sounds to me like they're going to try to overtax it. But other than that, I thought it was a fantastic thing, and I'm going to reach out to their campaign and let them know they need to work on that language, because robust is not the word, at least for cannabis, but I understand it is for everybody else.
It's replicating the burdensome tax structure we have at a state level, which gives constituents outside of regulated cannabis massive dollars, which creates massive resistance against tax reform.